Americans learned a necessary lesson over the weekend, another one. The country must have law and order, or you can kiss the country goodbye. The Republican Party is the only party offering that, as tens of thousands of good, decent, faithful Americans converged to honor a life taken by radical political violence. The rotten leftist edifice crumbling. Exhibit A, California. The day before Charlie Kirk's memorial, the press office for California's sad excuse of a governor posted this: Kristi Noem is going to have a bad day today. You're welcome, America. Tone deafness doesn't even cover that. Immediately, the post was referred to the Secret Service for a full threat assessment. Apparently, it was meant to be in reference to the state's new legislation against federal immigration enforcement. One of the bills bans most law enforcement agents from wearing masks on the job.
The impact of these policies all across this city, our state and nation are terrifying. It's like a dystopian sci-fi movie. Unmarked cars, people en masse, people quite literally disappearing, no due process, no rights. This is a disgrace. This is an outrage, what we have allowed to happen in this country.
In other words, protect illegal aliens, protect violent rioters, but endanger cops. Lawlessness versus law and order.
The state of California has no jurisdiction over the federal government. If Gavin Newsom wants to regulate federal agents, he's got to win a federal election. But the state of California does not have the power to regulate us, and I've directed our agencies to disregard this silly bill that he just signed. You know what this is about? This is to inflame the public. They have this narrative that people are out there being kidnapped. It's not true. They're federal agents. They're acting under federal law. And if he doesn't like it, he should change the law.
That brings us to Exhibit B, Chicago. Operation Midway Blitz, President Trump's ICE initiative in the crime-ridden city, netting about 550 arrests thus far. And the mission will not stop, especially not now.
Raised in the suburbs of Chicago, Charlie was filled with a patriotic spirit from his youth, and he was an all-American in everything he did. And one of the last things he said to me is, "Please, sir, save Chicago." We're going to do that. We're going to save Chicago from horrible crime.
That's law and order. Here's the lawlessness. 16 rioters arrested over the weekend outside an ICE facility in Chicago's suburbs after throwing rocks, tear gas canisters, and fireworks at officers, slashing tires, blocking the entrance. Homeland Security saying police refused multiple calls for assistance. And you can thank Democrat Governor Pritzker's sanctuary ruling for that. Joining me now, host of the Tudor Dixon Podcast, Tudor Dixon. Tudor, great to see you. What do they?
It's good to see you, but not under these circumstances.
Well, what do they stand for? I guess they want security and safety for people who break the law, but not the people who abide by the law and actually pay their salaries.
Well, and they also don't experience it themselves. So the reality is they just don't care about the American people, and they want to continue this narrative that you have to fight law enforcement. And really what Gavin Newsom is doing is as Ben Ferguson just said, he is creating his own terrorism force with a group of useful idiots who are going and getting in the way of our ICE agents. And let me tell you, Donald Trump was talking about the suburbs of Chicago. In 2015, I worked at a steel mill on the south side of Chicago. And when I went in for training, the supervisor on staff said to me, when your training is done, you can't leave the facility because there's a helicopter that is right now circling the building looking for an active shooter who's outside right now. This is a pretty regular thing for us. Can you imagine people cannot leave their office building because they are afraid of being shot by someone who is shooting people on the streets randomly? This is happening on a daily basis. It's happening in Detroit. It's happening in Memphis. It's happening in Chicago. And Democrats are telling you to avoid law enforcement or fight law enforcement. That's continuing to be their message. It seems ridiculous to me.
Oh, it's happening in Cincinnati. Remember the race riot, if you will, that happened just several weeks ago? Well, in the last week, Tudor, last night someone was shot on Mount Adams, which is a neighborhood, beautiful, right in the middle of Cincinnati, outside one of those hookah bars. A week ago, Tuesday, 2 teenagers were shot at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, right in the middle of the Over the Rhine district. A 16-year-old murdered. And
yeah,
then
but
a
it's never the
14-year-old
politicians.
girl.
They don't live
Right.
there.
Right. And and again, it's happening everywhere. And they don't care. They don't care to protect those people who are most in need. But can we move on to this, a lighter moment? Well, it's just filled with air and just nothingness. Former Vice President Kamala Harris is going to tout her book on The View tomorrow, as Democrats are left befuddled over the whole point of it. And by the way, she's returning to The View, and where she has claimed that she realized that she pulled the pin on the grenade when she was on The View, and she was asked by Sonny Hostin, what about Joe Biden's administration would you change? And what was her response? I can't think anything, or nothing, I think was her response. But she's going back to the site of that crime.
I think it's ridiculous to think that she had no political instincts in that moment. But I mean, I guess it's not, because we saw her throughout her campaign, her very short campaign, with the constant word salad. She was clearly never prepared. She was actually never prepared as vice president either. I remember oftentimes we would sit in the office and have a press release go out or watch a video of her doing an interview, and we would say, does she not even have a speech writer? How is it that this is what is coming? These are the words that are forming out of this woman's mouth. And that she had so little understanding of how her administration was affecting the American people that she would say, no, I will change nothing. That alone should have been disqualifying. The fact that she says she doesn't know she was pulling the pin, well, dear, that's why you're not president.
I will enjoy seeing her out, because it makes me that much more grateful that President Trump is in the White House, and that much more just deliciously happy that she lost. So the quote was, they asked her, what would you do differently than Joe Biden? And she said, nothing comes to mind, because that's her level of intellect. But I digress. Tudor Dixon, great to see you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Be well.